Friends, welcome to Abhivakti India's Future Classroom. Today we are starting with the Advanced Mathematics for SSC CGL examination. Today we will begin with quadrilaterals, and in today's episode we will study the properties of different types of quadrilateral. Before going to the topic, I request you to subscribe the channel so that you will get all updates right into your mailbox, and I also request you to like the video and share it with your friends. Now let us start with the properties of parallelogram. Let us see the first property. The opposite sides are equal and the parallel. Here ABCD is a parallelogram, and the first property states that the opposite sides, that is AB and DC, are equal and parallel, and also AD and BC are the opposite sides, and these opposite sides are equal and parallel. Now let us see the second property. Opposite angles are equal. In parallelogram, the opposite angles, that is angle A and angle C, these are equal, and angle D and angle B, these are the opposite angles, and these opposite angles are equal. It means angle A is equal to angle C and angle D is equal to angle B. Now let us see the third property. Third property is that the sum of any two adjacent angles is 180 degree. Angle A and angle D are the two adjacent angles, and therefore these two adjacent angles are supplementary. Their sum is 180 degree. Similarly, angle A and angle B are the adjacent angles, and therefore their sum is 180 degree. Similarly, angle B plus angle C will be 180 degree. Angle C plus angle D will be 180 degrees. Now let us see the property number 4. Diagonals bisect each other. Here in the figure, AC and BD are the two diagonals of a parallelogram ABCD, and the property states that these two diagonals bisect each other. It means AO will be equal to OC and DO will be equal to OB. So O will be the midpoint of AC and O will be the midpoint of BD. Now let us see the property number 5. Diagonals need not be equal in length. In parallelogram, the diagonals may be equal or may not be equal. It is not necessary that diagonals should be equal, but in parallelogram generally we take diagonals are not equal, but if it is rhombus, if it is a rectangle, if it is square, then the diagonals will be equal. So the diagonals need not be equal in length. Now let us see the property number 6. Diagonals need not bisect at right angle. In parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other, that we have seen, but it is not needed that it should bisect at right angle only. Sometimes it may be bisecting at right angles also. Now the seventh property is each diagonal divides a parallelogram into two congruent triangles. Each diagonal divides the diagonal AC that divides the parallelogram in two triangles, triangle ADC and triangle ABC, and these two triangles will be always congruent. Similarly, diagonal BD that divides it in two triangles BCD and BAC, these two triangles will be congruent. Now let us see the property 8. Property 8 states that bisectors of the angles of a parallelogram form a rectangle. This property states that the bisectors of the angles, if the bisector of angle is drawn, bisector of angle C, bisector of angle D and bisector of angle B are drawn, then it will form a rectangle. Always remember that bisectors of a parallelogram that form a rectangle. Now the property number 9, a parallelogram inscribed in a circle is a rectangle. In a circle, if the parallelogram is inscribed, that will be always a rectangle. Now let us see the property number 10. A parallelogram circumscribed about a circle is a rhombus. A parallelogram, if it is circumscribed about a circle, then it will be a rhombus. And now see the property 11. Property 11 states that a parallelogram is a rectangle if its diagonals are equal. Parallelogram will be a rectangle if its diagonals are equal. Parallelogram does not have equal diagonals, but if the diagonals are equal, then it will be a rectangle. Now the property number 12 states that AC square plus BD square, AC is a diagonal, BD is a diagonal, and the sum of the squares of these diagonals, that is AC square plus BD square, that will be equal to sum of the squares of all four sides, that is AB square plus BC square plus DC square plus AD square. But the opposite sides are equal. AB and ADC are equal, so AB plus CD, that will be twice of AB square, and BC plus AD, that will be twice of BC square, so it will be twice of AB square plus BC square. Now the property number 13 states that area of parallelogram will be base into height, or the area of parallelogram is given as AB into AD into sine of A. AB into AD, AB and AD are the two adjacent sides. It means the product of the adjacent side multiplied by the sine of the included angle, that gives you the area of the parallelogram. Now let us see the properties of a rectangle. Rectangle is a parallelogram with all angles 90 degree. Here the rectangle is nothing but a parallelogram. It means all the properties of parallelogram are applicable to the rectangle also. The difference between the parallelogram and rectangle is that all the angles are of 90 degree, but in parallelogram it may not be 90 degree. So if it is a parallelogram with all angles are 90 degree, we call it as a rectangle. And now let us see the few properties of rectangle, because all the properties of parallelogram are applicable to it. So let us see the first property. The first property is that diagonals are equal and bisect each other. The diagonals AC and diagonal BD of a rectangle are equal and both bisect each other. It means this part and this part will be equal, and this part and this part will be equal, but not necessarily necessary at right angles. It is not necessary that the diagonals bisect each other, but it may be perpendicular or may not be perpendicular. So now see the property number 2. For the given perimeter of the rectangles, a square has maximum area. If the perimeter of the rectangle is given and the square of the same perimeter is given, then always remember that the square has the maximum area. This is the important property as far as the examination of SSC CGL is concerned. Now let us see the third property. Third property states that the figure formed by joining the midpoints of the adjacent sides of a rectangle is rhombus. See the figure. Here the midpoints of the adjacent sides are joined. this is and this, these two are the adjacent sides and their midpoints are joined. Similarly here the midpoints are joined, and whatever the figure we get, that always be a rectangle. This quadrilateral will be always this will be always a rhombus if the midpoints of the adjacent sides of a rectangle are joined. The figure whatever we get, that will be always a rhombus. Now let us see the property number 4. Area of rectangle is equal to length into breadth. The area of the rectangle is equal to length into breadth, length multiplied by breadth, that gives you the area of the rectangle. Now let us see the fifth property. The diagonals of a rectangle will be equal to root of L square plus B square. If you have to find this diagonal, then the triangle ABC will be the right angle triangle, and this angle is 90 degree. So here we apply the Pythagoras theorem, that is AB square plus BC square, that will be equal to AC square. So AC will be equal to square root of L square plus breadth square, that is B square. So square root of L square plus B square, that will give you the diagonal of a rectangle. Now let us see the sixth property. The bisectors of the angles of a rectangle form another rectangle. Here the figure 2, this is the bisector of the angle, this is the bisector of the angle, this is the bisector of the angle of a rectangle, and this is also the bisector of the angle of a rectangle. So here inside this figure is formed, this figure will be always a rectangle. Remember, this is also very important. Now we will go for the another type of the quadrilateral. Now we will see the properties of rhombus. Here is the first property, that all sides are equal. ABCD is a rhombus, and a rhombus has all its sides equal, as that of the square too has all sides equal. But here all angles may not be of 90 degree or maybe 90 degree. The second property is that diagonals bisect each other at right angle, but they are not necessarily equal. The diagonal AC and diagonal BD of the parallel rhombus ABCD that bisect each other at right angle, it means they bisect perpendicularly. So these angles will be of 90 degree. And if this point is O, then DO will be equal to BO, AO will be equal to OC, because they bisect each other. Then the third property is that a rhombus may or may not be square, but all squares are rhombus. Rhombus may or may not be a square, but all squares are rhombus. Square can be a rhombus, but all rhombus cannot be square. If the angles are 90 degree, then it will be a rhombus, and if the angles are not 90 degree, then it will be simply a rhombus. Now the fourth property is the figure formed by joining the midpoints of the adjacent sides of a rhombus is a rectangle. If you join the midpoints of the adjacent side, AD is a side and DC is its adjacent side. If you join the midpoints of these two, and if you join the midpoints of these two midpoints and these two midpoints, then you will always get a rectangle. Now the fourth property is a parallelogram is a rhombus if its diagonals are perpendicular to each other. Parallelogram will be a rhombus if the diagonals bisect each other perpendicularly, then only that parallelogram will be a rhombus. Now let us see the sixth property. Area of rhombus is given by half product of diagonals, that is 1/2 AC multiplied by BD. AC and BD are the diagonals of the rhombus, and so its area will be calculated as 1/2 AC into DB. Now let us see the seventh property. D1 square plus D2 square. D1 is a diameter and D2 is the another diameter, so its sum of its square means the sum of the square of the diameters, that will be always equal to 4 into side of square of the side. So AC square plus BD square, that will be equal to 4 times AB or 4 times BC square or 4 times CD square or 4 times AD square. Now the eighth property is that area of a rhombus is equal to product of the adjacent sides. AB is a side, its adjacent side is AD, and A angle is the included angle. Then the area of the rhombus will be calculated as product of adjacent side multiplied by sine of the included angle. It means AB multiplied by AD multiplied by sine of the included angle, that is angle A. If you are taking these two as the adjacent sides, then BC into CD multiplied by sine of angle C. Now see the last property, that is a rhombus is a square if its diagonals are equal. If the diagonals are equal, then that rhombus will be always a square. If the diagonals are equal, then that rhombus will be always square. Now let us see the properties of a square. Here is the first property, all sides are equal. Just like rhombus, the square has all its sides equal, that is AB is equal to BC is equal to CD is equal to AD. Now the second property is diagonals are equal and bisect each other at right angle. The diagonals AC and the diagonal BD are always equal. In square, the diagonals are equal, but in rhombus, the diagonals are not equal and they bisect each other at right angles. Just these diagonals AC and BD, they bisect each other at right angle. The third property is that area of the square is equal to side square, or it is d square by 2, diagonal d square divided by 2. The fourth property is that the figure formed by joining the midpoints of the adjacent sides of a square is a square. If you join the midpoints of the adjacent sides, then the figure formed, that will be always a square. Now let us see the properties of trapezium. Here is the first property, that angle A plus angle D is equal to angle B plus angle C is equal to 180 degree. ABCD is a trapezium. AB is parallel to DC and AD and BC are non-parallel sides. Then angle A plus angle D, that will be always equal to 180 degrees. It means angle A and angle D are supplementary angles. Here angle B and angle C will be always 180 degree. It means angle B and angle C are supplementary angles. Now the second property is that if E and F are the midpoints of the two non-parallel sides AD and BC respectively, then EF is equal to half of into bracket AB plus DC. Here, if E and F, this point is E and other point is F, if E and F are the midpoints of the parallel sides, non-parallel sides, AD and BC are the non-parallel sides, and E is a midpoint of AD and F is a midpoint of BC, then this EF will be given by half of AB plus DC, sum of the parallel sides. It will be equal to, if you have to find the length of EF, then it will be given by the formula half of AB plus DC. Now the third property is area of trapezium is equal to half into brackets sum of the parallel sides into height. The area of trapezium ABCD will be calculated by the formula half into brackets sum of the parallel sides, that is AB plus DC multiplied by the height. Then the fourth is sum of the squares of the diagonals. Sum of the squares of the diagonals, if AC is a diagonal and BD is a diagonal, if it is denoted by D1 and D2 respectively, then D1 square plus D2 square will be equal to sum of the squares of the parallel sides plus 2 into product of the parallel side. Sum of the squares of the non-parallel sides, that is AD square plus BC square plus twice of product of parallel sides, that is AB into DC. Now the fifth is by joining the midpoints of the adjacent sides of a trapezium, four similar triangles are formed. If you join the midpoints of the trapezium adjacent sides, it is like this, then you get four triangles. This is the first, this is the second, this will be the third, and this will be the fourth, and all these four triangles will be similar triangles. And the last is a figure. ABCD is a trapezium, AC is a diagonal, BD is a diagonal, then AO upon OC will be equal to BO upon OD. Remember this is the most important formula as far as the exam is concerned. If ABCD is a trapezium and AC is a diagonal, BD is a diagonal, then AO upon OC will be equal to BO upon DO, because this O and this O, these are the vertically opposite angles, so they are equal. This angle and this angle, these two angles will be equal because alternate interior angle. Similarly, this angle and this angle will be equal because of the alternate interior angles, and therefore these two triangles are similar. And since the two triangles are similar, the ratio of their corresponding sides will be equal. Friends, here are the few video suggestions. In mixed bag 1, there are the problems from the question paper RBI Grade B Officers, which was conducted in 2015. In mixed bag 3, here are the questions discussed are from the question paper National Insurance Company Limited Administrative Officer. Then in the mixed bag 5, here are the mixed problems on different topics and different question papers collected. And in mixed bag number 4, the questions from IBPS RRB CWE 4th Assistant 2015 questions are collected, and that all are discussed in the mixed bag 1, mixed bag 3, mixed bag 5 and mixed bag 4. Friends, I hope you must have enjoyed this video, and if yes, please like the video, please share it with your friends, and please subscribe to the channel so that all updates you will get right into your mailbox. And thank you very much for watching this video.